What's going on, guys? Arya here. Today we're going to be talking about the Russian Civil War 1917 to 1923. How Russia turned into a battle royale with armies, anarchists, foreign invaders, and a train of full revolutionaries. I'm working on the Uncle Reed, Gabe, and we got another one. So we got three specials that I have to fucking text these people and bother them and, ask them to give up time of their lives to come sit and do this bullshit with me on the Zoom call. And I have to finish up the Al-Andalus Islamic Spain series, so we have to do that too. And yeah, well, let's get into this. Let's get into this history, guys. If World War One was the collapse of old Europe, the Russian Civil War, was what happened after someone kicked over the table and everybody started fighting over the pieces. The war had revolutionaries, monarchists, Democrats, socialists, nationalists, foreign armies, peasant uprisings, anarchists, Cossacks, and armored trains, and somehow the group with the least resources at the start ended up winning the whole thing. The Russian Civil War wasn't just about war; it's about deciding the outcome of Russia, the motherland, of what would it become? Would it be a monarchy again, a democracy, a socialist republic, or a military dictatorship? And the answer would shape the outcome. Would shape the history of the entire 20th century. The Russian Empire was already falling apart. Before the Civil War begins, we need to talk about Tsar Nicholas II. Nicholas II ruled the Russian Empire from 1894 to 1917. He is from the Romanov dynasty, the last of the Russian monarchs. The empire looked impressive on maps. It was enormous. It conquered. It was the west, the east, conquered all of Turkestan, and had parts of China, but underneath things were ugly. So Russia suffered from massive inequality. I believe Russia was the last country to abolish serfdom, political repression, rural poverty, industrial unrest, and ethnic tensions. Russia was huge and encompassed a bunch of ethnicities, and there was often not very good things going on with that. But the government operated on political philosophy as surely ignoring the problem will make it disappear. It didn't. So World War I happens. If Imperial Russia was struggling, World War I hit like a freight train. Russia suffered millions of casualties, economic collapse, food shortages, and military disasters on the Eastern Front. Well, I guess it's the Western Front for them. The army was bleeding, the economy was breaking, population was pissed, and by 1917, people were fucking done. February Revolution in March 1917. February, by the old Russian calendar, protests erupted in Petrograd. Workers struck, soldiers mutinied, the government collapsed, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated, and just like that, the Romanov dynasty ended after more than 300 years of control. One day you're the ruler of 1/6 of Earth's landmass, the next you're unemployed. History is ruthless. The Provisional Government. After the Tsar fell, a temporary government took power. Led by liberals and moderates, it promised elections, reform, and democracy. Sounds good. There's one tiny problem. They kept Russia in World War I. The public reaction? Why are we still doing this? So support quickly evaporated. Enter Lenin. Meanwhile, a bald revolutionary named Vladimir Lenin was waiting for this very opportunity. Germany helped him return to Russia because they believe this guy is going to fuck shit up. For once, German intelligence was absolutely correct. Lenin arrived and announced peace, land, and bread. Simple, memorable, and effective. Political marketing before political marketing even existed. So the October Revolution. In November 1917, October in the old Russian calendar, Lenin's Bolsheviks seized power in Petrograd. Contrary to some dramatic paintings, it wasn't initially a giant epic battle. It was more like the government appears to have misplaced control of the country. The Bolsheviks took over key institutions and declared a socialist revolution. Now, this is when the real fighting and bloodshed and violence would begin. So everyone hates everyone. The Bolsheviks quickly discovered something. A lot of people didn't want them in power. And those people disagreed with each other almost as much as they disagreed with the Bolsheviks. This created the Reds. So this is the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, Trotsky, Sverdlov, and Stalin. But at this time, Stalin is not very prominent. He's more of a secondary figure. And their goals was to defend the revolution, create a socialist state, and crush the opposition. The Whites, the anti-Bolsheviks. So this was not one unified movement. It included the monarchists, conservatives, liberals, nationalists, and anti-socialists. Their main shared platform was, we don't like the Bolsheviks. Unfortunately, that is not a good governing program. So the Greens, mostly of peasant groups, the goals are leave us alone, stop taking our food, and go away. Surprisingly, a relatable ideology. The Blacks, the anarchists, located especially in Ukraine, led by the legendary Nestor Makhno. Imagine if Mad Max had strong opinions about libertarian socialism. That's this dude, Makhno. So, the Tsar's fate. So, the Bolsheviks feared advancing white armies might rescue the Romanovs. So, in July 1918, Nicholas and his family were executed in Yekaterinburg. One of the most famous royal dynasties in history ended in a basement. The news shocked the world. The Civil War suddenly became even more brutal and bloody. So Trotsky built an army. The Bolsheviks possessed one huge advantage. Leon Trotsky. Trotsky organized the Red Army, and he was extraordinarily effective. Using armored trains, relentless discipline, and constant movement, he transformed a revolutionary militia into a powerful fighting force. His armored train became legendary. So imagine a rolling headquarters carrying soldiers, printing presses, weapons, and propaganda. Trotsky essentially turned the railroads into a weapon. So next is foreign intervention. So things start getting a little wacky and weird. So the Allies feared Bolshevism spreading, German access to Russian reinforcements, and the collapse of the Eastern Front. So troops arrived from Britain, France, the US, Japan, Canada, and other lesser nations. Sorry, not lesser nations, but like lesser powers. At one point, Russia looked like a multiplayer lobby. Everyone was there, but nobody knows how to win. The White Generals. So several white commanders nearly defeated the Bolsheviks. One of these is Admiral Kolchak. He advanced from Siberia. For a time, he controlled an enormous amount of territory. Next is excuse me, General Denikin. Pushed north toward Moscow. At one point, success seemed possible. And next we have General Yudenich advanced towards Petrograd, threatened the revolutionary capital itself. General Wrangel, often considered the most capable white commander, unfortunately for him, he arrived a little too late. Being the smartest person in a collapsing coalition is not always enough. So why the whites lost? This is one of history's most important questions. The whites often had experienced officers, foreign support, and strong military traditions, yet they lost. Why? They had no unified vision. The Bolsheviks promised we're building socialism. The whites promised we'll figure it out later. And people generally prefer a plan, even though the plan is fucking horrifying. They were divided. So white armies frequently disagreed. Their coalition was a political nightmare. Monarchists wanted one thing, liberals wanted another, nationalists wanted something else. Nobody was on the same page. Geography was in favor towards the Reds. So the Bolsheviks controlled Moscow, Petrograd, major railroads, and industrial centers. This allowed for faster movement and superior logistics. Logistics wins wars. History students hate to hear it. Generals know it's true. Trotsky was better. Many white generals were excellent commanders. Trotsky was just better at organizing a national war effort. And organization beats heroics 9 times out of 10. So war communism. To survive, the Bolsheviks implemented war communism, which involved grain requisition, centralized industry, and strict controls. So the state essentially said, everything belongs to us now. The peasants weren't too thrilled to hear this. This policy helped them win the war, but it actually in turn created enormous suffering. The Red Terror. So both sides committed atrocities, but the Bolsheviks developed a particularly systematic campaign known as the Red Terror, conducted by the Cheka secret police. Suspected enemies were arrested, imprisoned, or executed. The message was simple: oppose the revolution at your own risk. The foundations of the future Soviet security state being built. The White Terror. So the whites were hardly innocent too. White armies also carried out reprisals, executions, and pogroms. Particularly horrific violence struck Jewish communities. The Civil War became increasingly brutal on all sides, and nobody emerged with clean hands. So, the Polish-Soviet War. So just when Russia seemed unable to handle more conflict, Poland, bang, enters the picture. So the Bolsheviks hoped to spread revolution westward. Poland hoped to secure its independence and territory. The result, the Polish-Soviet War, 1919 to 1921. The Red Army approached Warsaw. Many believe Poland was doomed. Then Poland launches a dramatic counterattack. The miracle on the Vistula. The Soviets are driven back, and Europe breathed a huge sigh of relief with this new-founded buffer between them and the communist savages to the east. Next is Kronstadt. So this is one of the revolution's most painful moments. In 1921, sailors at Kronstadt rebelled. These sailors had once been among the Bolsheviks' strongest supporters. Now they demanded reforms. The Bolsheviks, in turn, crushed them. It was a sign that the revolution was beginning to turn against some of its own original supporters. A reoccurring theme that we're going to see here regarding the Soviet Union. So Lenin changes course. So recognizing disaster, Lenin introduced the New Economic Policy, NEP. This partially restored markets and private trade. The economy began to recover, and the Bolsheviks had won the war. Now all they need is a functioning country. The birth of the Soviet Union. So in 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, was officially created. The Bolsheviks had won. They succeeded against enormous odds, and the revolutionary state survived. And now it would become one of the most powerful countries on earth. So casualties and destruction. So the Russian Civil War was completely catastrophic. Estimates vary, but millions died through combat, famine, disease, terror, and economic collapse. In many areas, the destruction rivaled World War I, and entire regions ended up being completely devastated. The legacy. So the Russian Civil War created the Soviet Union. It shaped Stalin's future policies, Soviet political culture, communist ideology, and international politics. The leaders who emerged from the war carried its lesson on for decades. Many people concluded that trust nobody, crush opposition immediately, and never show weaknesses. These ideas would have enormous consequences later on in the future. The central irony of the whole situation is that these Bolsheviks began as revolutionaries promising liberation. To survive the Civil War, they built secret police, political repression, centralized authority, and massive military institutions. The war helped transform a revolutionary movement into a powerful state, and by the time the shooting stopped, the Soviet Union had been born not from peace, but from one of the most bloodiest and most chaotic civil wars in modern history. The Russian Civil War wasn't merely a fight over who would rule Russia. It was the violent birth of a new world order whose effects would echo from Moscow to Berlin, Beijing, Havana, and Washington, and beyond for the rest of the 20th century.